who's listening, I want to highlight a few things that I think are really important teaching points, stuff that you did right and stuff that we thought about in building this program. Is the plan that works long term is the one that addresses all of these everyday life stuff that you're going to encounter. You're going to want to have a free meal or a cheat meal. So you got to have a process for how you do that, and you build it into your routine. It's not something that derails you. You're going to probably have an alcoholic drink. You got to know which ones to have. And ideally, you build these things into your family's routine so that it's like additive, and it gives you more love and family time and connection. So it sounds like you checked all of those boxes using our program tools. And that's what I think is established this in such a bedrock in your new routine that probably now feels like your new normal. So I'm curious, when you started from the beginning of, let's say, the $7 trial you had with us, how much weight did you lose getting down to your low before switching and focusing on some muscle building?
So I think, like I said, I started middle of July of
Mhm.
2020, towards the end of July, and now I'm currently on week 12 of Old
Mhm.
School Muscle Phase 2. So I think I've finished up all three phases of the FitFather 30X program around January, right? A little bit after the new year. And my starting weight was 250
Mhm.
pounds, point 0.8, a little over 250. And right before I started Old School Muscle, I was right at about 200 even. So I lost over 50 pounds, a little over 50 pounds.
In 7 months.
Yes.
In 7 months. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of fat loss. And then you used the FF30X, which is our fat loss focused program series, to get that weight off. And then I know you hit this kind of inflection point where you're like, yeah, I'm lean, but I want to start to fill out my body and work on some strength. So you transition to Old School Muscle, a strength training program designed for guys 40 plus. So tell us a little bit about what you've been working on since
Yeah.
getting the weight
So
off.
right after I finished the phase 3 of the FitFather, the FF30X program, I know you kind
Mhm.
of recommend to maybe go into phase 4, which is um, kind of those focuses on those busy days or the days where you're not so busy, and you can kind of incorporate those different earth, wind, fire,
Mhm.
water workouts. And I did that, I think,
Yep.
for about a week. And those are great. Those are
Mhm.
great because you're still doing the meal plan. You're still getting some workouts in. You've lost that weight, and that was good. But as I was reading over the other plans with Old School Muscle, I realized, and I've not gotten my body fat checked professionally. I kind of rely on I've got a Renfro, or not a Renfro, Renfo scale that I go off of, and I know it's not completely accurate, but I could tell that my body fat percentage was in a range that supported starting the Old School Muscle program. And so
Mhm.
um, I wanted to start doing that, looking at those workouts and thinking to myself, wow, I'm going to get back in the weight room and start doing some bench press, start doing some
Mhm.
squats and things. And I think I've mentioned in a couple of my Facebook posts. So I was not a really powerful squat guy back in high school.
It's a long way to
You're
go.
6'5".
Yeah,
That's a
it,
long
it,
way to
it
go down.
is. And but having said all that, um, those lifts really pushed me. They really challenged me. And as I, again, following those guides, using that really handy Excel Google sheet that a member provided, which whoever that is, they're awesome. Um, that that has been a key. I cannot stress enough how important it is to keep track, especially if you're going to start the Old School Muscle program. I probably didn't
Yeah.
keep as much track of the weights that I was using in the Apex 10, the Peak 11, and the Great Destroyer,
Mhm.
and all those Assault. Probably didn't keep as much track of the weights on that. But with Old School Muscle, it's critical because you can really
Yeah.
see your progress. You can really know, okay, I need to go up in weight the next week, um, and change up your exercises, all those good things to keep track of. And then when you go back and see where you started and where you are now, you're like, wow, if I did not need enough affirmation that this program works to see that I was last week when I was doing squats, I was warming up with the weight that was my max rep the first week I started back in phase 1. So
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. So a couple lessons there I just want to tease out here is number one, we recommend as part of our kind of Fit Father approach that guys get the weight off first because it's a lot easier and your body's a lot more receptive to building muscle once you're at a certain body fat range. That's why we have guys run through this FF30X fat loss program series. You go through as many phases as you need to get there. David, for you, is pretty much 3 phases, which totals around 6 months. So you got the weight off in that time. And then, when you're doing those kinds of metabolic resistance training workouts, these kind of circuit workouts with weights, it's not about how much weight you're lifting, but it's about getting them in and getting this high intensity session in and pushing yourself for sure. But they take about, let's just say 45 minutes. You're using a pair of dumbbells or kettlebells at home, which is great. But then when it comes to muscle building, it's all about the tracking. It's a deliberate training program with smart motions that feel good on your joints. And then you track your weights and your progress. And we have amazing guys in our brotherhood that created these fancy Excel trackers, which Dave is referring to. You put in your starting weights and it helps you track your progress all throughout there. So you're obviously getting tremendously stronger. I mean, to be using the weight that was your max when you began, and now you're probably, I guess, probably four plus months into dedicated strength training, maybe a little bit more at this point. And now you're so much stronger. So what's next for you in your physical journey? In terms of just your training and maybe some of your goals with your body, now that you are on the path of being at a great weight and building muscle? What's next for you?
Well, it's a great question because, I'm almost to my 1-year anniversary of being a Fit Father for Life member. And so we are, I mentioned this, my family's getting ready to go on a big RV trip out west that we're looking forward to. And, now for me, when I get away from home, I get a little nervous with meals, and also working out, balancing that. And one thing I probably didn't mention that, a big part of my success is the planning, meal planning, knowing the days I'm going to be busy, knowing that, okay, I need to make time, on the weekend to get some meals prepped because, this particular day during the week, there's not going to be any time. And so, we've been talking about that. Fortunately, timing for me, I'll be, next week, I'm going to do a deload week, for the end of phase 2 for old school muscle. And I had thought about, going into phase 3, but since we're going to be on the road, fortunately for me, and the great thing about going through all those phases of the Fit Father program is that you learn all those different workouts and you can use them whenever you want. So, I'm probably going to take a set of dumbbells with me. So if you see me out in the Walmart parking lot out in St. Louis somewhere,
Nice.
because you
Nice.
can do them anywhere. And so I'm planning to do kind of a leaning up phase for probably for the biggest part of July and maybe going towards the end of the summer, and then planning to go back into probably going to start old school muscle phase 3 because I
Nice.
know those workouts are a little bit different. They're similar to phase 2, but I think they're more focused. I think you're doing 4
More
days
focused.
a week, I believe, and I've heard some of the brothers in the brotherhood group have talked about phase 3 and how much they enjoy it. So obviously that's making me want to do that next once I finish out the summer.